Okay, YouTubers, we are back out on the bench, and we're going to be doing something a little interesting. I'm going to do a how-to video, or at least I hope I'm going to do a how-to video, on how to weather FlexTrack. And let me give you a little background information on this. So first of all, if you look at this track that I've got over here, this is Pico Code 100. I've got a few pieces of this that I bought at the Cleveland NMRH train show last summer. I went with Pico for a number of reasons. First of all, I really like the look of it. I like the flexibility of the track. And I love Pico turnouts. So in preparation for doing the next segment of my layout, I had to do a good bit of research, and Pico is what I selected. Now, this is Code 100, but the layout will be Code 83. I had picked these up just because they were available. I didn't see any Code 83, and I just needed some stuff to play with. I also wanted to compare Code 83 to Code 100. First person, hold both of them in my hand, see what they looked like, and 83 was the way I went. I mean, it just looks much more realistic. So that's how I got to the Code 83 decision. The Pico decision was, just reviews I had seen on YouTube, holding it in my hands, comparing it to Atlas. You won't be able to see, I don't think, all that well, but there's good detail on the ties. I think it's very well made. Should be able to see it a little bit there. And it also marries up perfectly with the Pico turnouts. And I think the turnouts is the area on a layout that you can have the most mechanical malfunctions. So that's where I really want to invest my money and my time. And Pico was the way that I'm going to go. So it just made sense to go with the Pico track. So that gets me, to the track decision. But then I really, the one thing that I really liked visibly, the best of everything that I've looked at, is micro engineering Code 83 track. The ties look fabulous, and with the micro engineering, you can actually get it pre-weathered. Now, I don't have a sample here to show you, but I looked at some at my local hobby shop, which happens to be Riverdale Station, which is just south of the Atlanta airport. It's about 20 miles away from me. It's a little bit of a trek to go over there, but just as an FYI, I'll give this guy a little plug. The hobby store is in a pretty bad area as far as neighborhoods go, but he has got a lot of really good stuff in there. It's not a monster store, but the only thing the Riverdale Station does is trains, and he doesn't have a massive selection of motive power or rolling stock, but what he does have is high quality. As far as track goes, Atlas, Pico, micro engineering, wood ties, concrete ties, all rail joiners. He has got a really good selection in there. He's got a great selection on literature. He's got a great selection of structures. He's got to have 50 to 60 different Walther's structures. So it's a really good hobby store. And again, that's Riverdale Station. But I digress. So he had the micro engineering Code 83 FlexTrack pre-weathered. And I loved it. It looks better than the Pico. Really high quality. However, when I went to flex it in my hands, it was extremely static, rigid. And I said, well, what's the deal with this? And he goes, well, it's the pre-weathering. It jams up the flexibility. And I was like, wow, it's kind of unfortunate. Because it wasn't just, slightly rigid. As I bent and twisted it, it like held its form. And I got the distinct feeling that as I was laying down FlexTrack, I would really have to play around with that micro engineering to get it to smoothly form to curves. And that turned me off. Also, he told me, look out for issues between the microengineering track and the Pico turnouts that I plan to use. And I wanted to use the Picos over the microengineering. There's cost reasons and just other reasons that I had noticed, just on online forums, so on and so forth. So what I decided to do was weather my own. What we're going to try to do here is use this microengineering rail weathering solution on my Pico track. So that's what this video is all about. You can see I also made a small investment in this Tidy Track track painter, and that's from Woodland Scenics. It's the rusty rail. It looks really good when it goes on, but sloppy, sloppy, sloppy. It's all over the ties. It's not what I want. I want this to be, neater, and this just isn't for me. I don't have the patience for it, and I don't want stuff slopped all over the place. So what I'm going to try to do is weather with this solution, and my idea is to immerse the track inside of a carrier, leave it there, check it every 5 minutes or so till it gets to the point where I like what it looks like, pull it out, stop the chemical reaction by washing off with water, and then I'm going to test to see how flexible the track is. Now, if it winds up that my flexibility is gone, just like on the pre-weathered microengineering, I'll have to evaluate what I do from there. But that's what this is all about. So my idea is, for $7, I found this, it's kind of ironic, this Rubbermaid FlexTrack. And what I'm going to do is, it was $7, and this is like a utility thing where you can mount on the wall to hang hooks and stuff on. Really what I'm after is this top piece, this plastic piece right here. So kind of unfortunate that I spent $8, I think it was $7.95, $8 on it, and I'm going to really not use it for its intended purpose. I spent $8 to get a 50-cent piece of plastic, but that's the idea I came up with. I had considered cutting a PVC pipe in half, but if you think about it, the pipe is circular, the track is rectangular. By the time you sit the track inside of the half, the half of a piece of PVC, you're going to have to put so much solution in that pipe to get the level of the solution to raise up to immerse the track. I wanted something that was more rectangular, and this is what I came up with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to mark it off. That's a 36-inch track, so I'll mark it off probably about 40 inches. Cut that plastic, fabricate some kind of end caps to keep the solution in there, and then we'll give this a shot. So I'm going to pause the video now, move on to my next step, and I'll be back soon. So let's see how this goes. All right, we're back in action here. So let me tell you what happened. When we left off, you had seen that I had attempted to glue this together with some testers, model cement. My initial thought was, well, it's, they're both plastic. It's plastic on plastic. We hit it with some of the cement. We'll see what happens. And it was total disaster. Almost no bonding. And that's just probably because it's the wrong type of plastic. I know that model cement is very specific for what type of plastic it will bond. So I pulled out my trusty little bottle of Gorilla Glue, and I slapped the end piece on with that Gorilla Glue, and you can see that bubbled up. It's all nasty looking, but again, this isn't for the layout. This is to help me weather track, so I don't really care what it looks like. But I threw some water in this a little while ago, and it looked like it held. I had thought I would wind up having to caulk that. That might still be true. I'm not sure. But thus far, it is watertight, and that's with the Gorilla Glue. One thing I wanted to tell you, you guys, about Gorilla Glue, if you didn't already know, a lot of people use Gorilla Glue. They just throw it on, put the two surfaces together. It's actually water activated. So, you know, like when I built these, when I glued these together, I used a paper towel and I wet both surfaces, applied the Gorilla Glue, and you can see when you apply it to a surface that is wet, it starts to turn like a creamy color very rapidly. Then I put them together and I put you know, like a block on either side, put some pressure on them and left it. So it came out all right. So here's the track. We're about 38 inches long. Our Pico track is about 36 inches long. And what I'm going to do is just put the phone down for a moment. Or let's see, maybe I can do this without putting the phone down. Now, let me put it down. Hold on. Sorry about that. And what I did, you can see here in this jar, I just grabbed an old glass jar. And what I did was I did a 2-to-1 ratio of the microengineering rail weathering solution. And the instruction said 2 parts water for 1 part weathering solution. So I just dumped the bottle in there, then filled up 2 more bottles of water. And so now what we're going to do is go ahead and pour this in. Looks like we're going to need a little bit more there. A little bit more. And I see what's going on here. Okay, there was a bow in the track that I had there, so I had to put the lid in there because everything was pooling up in the center. So it's not exactly perfect. Looks like I'm gonna have to retrofit this a little bit, but I think it's good enough to do this initial test. So here's my track. Let's flip it over, rail side down. Toss that bad boy in there. And you can see we've got complete submersion, but down on this end, it's really deep. So I'm going to have to figure out how to level this thing a little bit better. But I'm going to check back on this in about 15 minutes and see what it looks like. Babysit it a little bit, see how that weathering goes. And I will keep track of the timing on this and fill you guys in on how I make out. So we'll see you guys again in a little while. All right, the results are in. So here's my little reservoir track that I put together. Cleaned that up. So here's the deal. I put them in there. It was in there for exactly 7 minutes. I put it in. I walked away for like 2 minutes and just came back and looked at it. And I could see on the underside of the rail, it had already started taking a very tarnished like film was on it. So I started to watch it more carefully, and right before my eyes I could see it taking on that effect. So I gave it 5 more minutes, checked again, and it was almost black. So I said, "Whoop, let me pull this out." I pulled it out, ran it under some cold water, just put it back on the newspaper, dabbed it with dry paper towel, cleaned it off, and to stop that effect. And so let's check it out. Here is the original rail right there. I hope that comes out okay on the video. Here is the one that we just put in the solution. And I realize that I don't have the best camera here, but clearly, see if I can do both of them at the same time. Hey, you can see the difference there. Clearly, those rails are very tarnished. And so here's the deal. It's still just as flexible. Let's see if I can. It's still highly flexible, unlike the microengineering pre-weathered that was very, very rigid. So I've still got the flexibility. My ties are completely unaffected by the solution. They're in exactly the same condition they were when we started. So I had no discoloration there. It looks great. The only other thing that I did was on the surface, I ran some, really fine sandpaper over there to get the tarnish off of the top. That took me all of about, I would say, 30 seconds. And this did exactly what I wanted it to do. It gave me that weathered effect without me having to paint it or spray paint it and then deal with the overspray on my ties or any of that jazz. And I didn't lose the flexibility of the FlexTrack. So I'm liking it. And again, it's this microengineering rail weathering solution. I distilled it down, 2 parts water, 1 part solution. I think I can blast through a lot of track with this. 5-7 minutes at a clip. Maybe I'd go like 8 minutes or so. And I bet the more that I use it, the less effective it is. So probably the timing will go up. But this is pretty good. I am happy with these results. And I know this video was a little kludgy. I had to snip together a lot of different parts, but this worked out well. So hopefully you guys have learned something from this. I definitely did, and I'm excited about this technique. If you got any questions, you saw it for your own eyes. This is my first shot at it. You saw what I did. Let's, shoot me some questions, and I'll see what I can do to answer you. And as I use this, I'll let you guys know, how many linear feet of track did I get out of this? Oh, I don't think I told you, but I paid $10 for this bottle from my local hobby store. So that's it. I'm going to wrap this video up, try to get this posted. Super Bowl just ended, so I'll try to get this thing up there before midnight. We'll see what happens, but that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any questions, and please subscribe.